The United States Constitution, adopted on September 17, 1787, serves as the supreme law of the land. It defines the structure, powers, and responsibilities of the federal government and guarantees essential rights and freedoms for citizens. Crafted during a time of great political upheaval and under the pressure of creating a unified government after gaining independence from Britain. The Constitution's ultimate purpose was to establish a lasting framework for governance. Its influence extends beyond the borders of the United States, inspiring democratic movements and constitutional frameworks worldwide. Today, over 2 centuries after its adoption, the Constitution remains a living document, continuing to evolve through amendments, judicial interpretation, and political discourse. Historical context. To understand the significance of the U.S. Constitution, it's essential to consider the historical context in which it was created. Following the Revolutionary War, the United States was governed by the Articles of Confederation, a document that established a weak federal government. While it allowed the states to retain sovereignty, the Articles proved ineffective in solving the nation's problems, including economic instability, lack of centralized defense, and the inability to enforce laws or raise taxes. The need for a more robust and unified government became evident. In 1787, a constitutional convention was convened in Philadelphia to address the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation. Delegates from 12 of the 13 states met to revise the Articles but soon decided to create an entirely new document. The framers, led by figures such as George Washington, James Madison, and Benjamin Franklin, sought to strike a delicate balance between a strong central government and the protection of individual and state rights. The result of their work was the U.S. Constitution, which not only provided a new system of government but also introduced key principles of democracy, such as popular sovereignty, separation of powers, checks and balances, and federalism. The structure of the Constitution. The Constitution is organized into a preamble, 7 articles, and 27 amendments. Each section plays a distinct role in outlining the federal government's structure and its relationship with the states and citizens. The Preamble. The preamble of the U.S. Constitution sets forth the guiding principles and objectives of the document. It begins with the famous words, "We the people," signifying that the power of the government derives from the consent of the governed. The preamble outlines the purposes of the Constitution, including forming a more perfect union, establishing justice, ensuring domestic tranquility, providing for the common defense, promoting the general welfare, and securing the blessings of liberty. These lofty goals form the foundation for the entire document and reflect the framers' vision for a democratic republic that prioritizes the rule of law, individual rights, and the well-being of the people. Article 1. The Legislative Branch. Article 1 of the Constitution establishes the legislative branch of the government, the U.S. Congress. This article sets up a bicameral legislature, consisting of the Senate and the House of Representatives, each with distinct powers and responsibilities. The Senate is composed of 2 senators from each state, regardless of population, serving 6-year terms. This ensures equal representation for each state, regardless of size. The House of Representatives, on the other hand, is based on population, with each state receiving a number of representatives proportional to its population. House members serve 2-year terms, reflecting the need for frequent elections to ensure they remain accountable to their constituents. Article 1 also grants Congress specific enumerated powers, including the authority to tax, regulate commerce, declare war, maintain armed forces, and coin money. It also establishes important checks on Congress's power, such as prohibiting ex post facto laws and bills of attainder. Importantly, Congress is limited by the Constitution's provision that it may not suspend the writ of habeas corpus except in cases of rebellion or invasion, guaranteeing that individuals cannot be detained without legal justification. Article 2. The Executive Branch. Article 2 outlines the powers and responsibilities of the executive branch, headed by the President of the United States. The President is tasked with enforcing federal laws, commanding the armed forces, negotiating treaties, and representing the nation in diplomatic matters. The article also provides the procedure for presidential election. The president and vice president are selected by the Electoral College, a system in which electors chosen by each state cast votes to determine the winners. If no candidate receives a majority of electoral votes, the House of Representatives elects the president from among the top 3 candidates. Additionally, Article 2 grants the president the power to appoint federal judges, ambassadors, and other high-ranking officials with Senate confirmation. It also lays out procedures for impeachment and removal from office in cases of high crimes and misdemeanors, establishing a mechanism for holding the president accountable. Article 3. The Judicial Branch. Article 3 establishes the judicial branch of the government, which is responsible for interpreting the law and ensuring that laws are applied fairly. It creates the Supreme Court and grants Congress the authority to establish inferior courts as needed. The article defines the jurisdiction of federal courts, ensuring they can hear cases involving federal law, disputes between states, and matters involving foreign governments. Importantly, Article 3 guarantees the independence of the judiciary by providing that federal judges hold their positions for life, subject only to impeachment for misconduct. This independence is vital for protecting the separation of powers and preventing undue influence by the executive or legislative branches. Article 4. Relations among states. Article 4 addresses the relationships between states and the federal government. It requires that states give full faith and credit to the laws and judicial proceedings of other states, meaning that legal decisions made in one state must be recognized in others. It also ensures that citizens of each state have the same rights and privileges in other states and establishes procedures for admitting new states to the Union. This article emphasizes the importance of maintaining unity among the states while respecting their sovereignty. It also allows Congress to make laws governing the governance of territories and the admission of new states. Article 5. The amendment process. Article 5 provides the process for amending the Constitution. Given the potential for societal change, the framers recognized the need for the Constitution to evolve over time. Amendments can be proposed either by a 2/3 majority in both houses of Congress or by a constitutional convention called for by 2/3 of the state legislatures. Once proposed, an amendment must be ratified by 3/4 of the state legislatures or by conventions within the states. This process allows the Constitution to adapt to changing circumstances, ensuring that it remains relevant in a dynamic world. Since its ratification, the Constitution has been amended 27 times, addressing issues such as voting rights, civil rights, and the structure of government. Article 6. Supremacy of the Constitution. Article 6 establishes the supremacy of the Constitution and the federal government. It states that the Constitution, along with federal laws and treaties, is the supreme law of the land, taking precedence over state laws. This supremacy clause ensures that federal law is upheld uniformly across the nation, preventing states from enacting laws that contradict federal policies. Additionally, Article 6 requires an oath of office for all government officials and states that no religious test will be required for any officeholder. This guarantees freedom of religion and reinforces the separation of church and state. Article 7. Ratification. Article 7 outlines the process for the ratification of the Constitution. It required the approval of 9 states for the document to become effective, a process that was completed in 1788. The first Congress convened under the new Constitution in 1789, and George Washington was elected the first President of the United States. The Bill of Rights and Amendments. One of the most significant additions to the Constitution was the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments, which were ratified in 1791. The Bill of Rights was introduced to protect individual liberties and address concerns raised by those who feared that the new federal government might overstep its bounds. The Bill of Rights guarantees fundamental freedoms such as freedom of speech, religion, and the press, the right to bear arms, protection from unreasonable searches and seizures, and protections against self-incrimination and double jeopardy. These rights are a cornerstone of American democracy and have shaped the nation's legal and cultural landscape. Since the ratification of the Bill of Rights, the Constitution has been amended 17 additional times. Some amendments, such as the 13th Amendment, the 15th, and the 19th, expanded civil rights and freedoms. Others, like the 22nd Amendment, which limits the president to 2 terms in office, have sought to address the structure and function of government. The Constitution in practice. Over the years, the U.S. Constitution has proven to be a flexible and enduring document. It has provided the foundation for a system of government that has adapted to changing times while remaining true to its core principles. The Constitution's ability to evolve through amendments and judicial interpretation has allowed it to address issues ranging from slavery and civil rights to the powers of the executive and the balance of power between federal and state governments. Landmark Supreme Court cases, such as Marbury v. Madison, which established judicial review, and Brown v. Board of Education, which desegregated schools, have demonstrated the Constitution's relevance in shaping American society. Conclusion. The United States Constitution remains one of the most important documents in the history of democracy. Its structure of government, its emphasis on the protection of individual rights, and its adaptability have allowed it to endure for over 2 centuries. It is a document that reflects the ideals of liberty, equality, and justice, serving as a model for democratic governments around the world. While the Constitution continues to evolve, its core principles of popular sovereignty, separation of powers, checks and balances, and federalism remain the foundation of American government and society. Through the Constitution, the framers created a system of governance that has withstood the test of time, shaping the United States into the nation it is today.